أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
We shall start our study of Saidina Zaid bin Thabit Al-Ansory from the 3rd year of Hijrah, when the Muslims were preparing themselves for the Battle of Uhud. And the Prophet ﷺ was making the final checks before proceeding to the battlefield. Along came a child, dragging his sword along with him. He was turned back by the Prophet ﷺ, just like how he was rejected a year before for the Battle of Badr. But he was rejected not simply because he was too young to enter into battle, but the Prophet ﷺ had a bigger task for this child to conquer. Allah mentions in Surah At-Tawbah verse 122, "It is not necessary for the believers to march forth together. Only a party should march forth, leaving the rest to gain religious knowledge, which will then enlighten their people when they return to them, so that they too can protect themselves from evil." Thus, his rejection from the battlefields of Badr and Uhud will elevate him into the escalated realms of knowledge, forever enshrining him in the glorious pages of Islamic history. Rasulullah ﷺ made Saidina Zaid one of his scribes to memorize and document the revelation sent unto him. In addition, the Prophet ﷺ tasked him with the learning of the Hebrew language and Syriac. He mastered both these languages in 70 nights. Saidina Zaid will eventually be entrusted with overseeing the committee set up by Saidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq to compile the Quran in the order that we know of today, as a testimony of the degree of knowledge blessed upon him. Saidina Zaid bin Thabit was also the teacher of Saidina Abdullah bin Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, who was also the cousin of the Prophet. One day, upon seeing Saidina Zaid riding on his donkey, Saidina Abdullah held on to the donkey's lead rope to assist his teacher and mentioned, "This is how we honor the learned from amongst us." In response, Saidina Zaid bin Thabit kissed the hand of Saidina Abdullah bin Abbas and mentioned, "This is how we are told to treat the members of the Prophet's household." Saidina Zaid leaves us with 3 pertinent learning points that are most valuable for our undertakings in these times. Firstly, the importance of dealing with disappointment well. There is a tendency for us, due to the narrowness of perspectives and a strong dosage of self-entitlement, to feel that the entire world has collapsed upon us each time we fail to achieve something we have earnestly set our hearts into. But Saidina Zaid bin Thabit's initial rejection from being a soldier on the battlefield to being an exalted scholar amongst the companions highlighted how what we perceive as failures are actually openings to previously unknown blessings. Allah mentions in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 216, "But perhaps you hate something and yet it is good for you, and perhaps you love something and yet it is bad for you, and Allah knows while you know not." So pick ourselves from our failures, because life doesn't end upon a failure, for it might be a start to greater things to come in our life. Secondly, the importance of mastering something. Again, we live in a time where there is a tendency for us to adopt a herd mentality and become part of a human production line. We have become oriented to allow that pursuits, contributions and achievements are only one track in nature. As such, we often deprive ourselves of a greater appreciation of our hidden potentials. It is about time we look earnestly into ourselves, extract the strength that we have, harness it and translate it into a tangible outcome that will benefit the community and the world that we live in. It can be the mastery of language like Saidina Zaid, the gift in writing, the heart for serving the underprivileged, the craft for design, and the list goes on. There are always gaps in this world to fill in, and we should always consider ourselves as the most valid option. Lastly, do bear in mind that the intellect often leans towards self-aggrandizement, and that the only way to curb these tendencies will be through humility, as seen by how Saidina Zaid humbled himself before Saidina Abdullah ibn Abbas. We are not short of intellectual people in our midst in current times, But the world has become increasingly bitter as this intellectualism has translated into a preference to undermine and indulge in unnecessary rivalries, rather than the genuine desire to coexist and collaborate for the betterment of the human condition. May Allah make us from amongst those who tread the path of Saidina Zaid bin Thabit in humility, mastery of skill, and positivity in the face of adversity.